We have a few mantras on this show. And one of the big ones, if you've been hanging out with us late at night for a while now, you know, even if it hasn't been a while, you know that one of the big ones we have is the better stories in the losing locker room. And so as teams continue to address their failures, their sudden departure from the NFL postseason, we might as well dabble in some schadenfreude and enjoy the hell out of this. Now, the better story in the losing locker room, that also applies to the people purple eaters. Now, a listener in Minnesota was upset. I got some angry messages on social media. Why you calling out the Vikings? What's wrong with that? You are what your record says you are. You say that all the time. Well, the Vikings had a fraudulent point total differential. They were the worst good team in NFL history, and they backed that up by going out and losing to a very mediocre Giants team on Wild Card Weekend. And now the Vikings are left to figure out what the hell went wrong. The repercussions of playing and not playing well out of the postseason. So much focus has been centered on the quarterback. It should be on the defense. It's also on the defense, but the quarterback is what we talk about here. So if you've not heard, and maybe not, at the Viking season-ending press conference, the general manager in Minnesota, he's a Wall Street guy, Kwasi Adefo-Mensah, easier for me to say, Adefo-Mensah, he was asked immediately about Kirk Cousins. Now, Cousins signed an extension before last season, and he would likely be going into a lame duck year because he's got 1 year left. My math tells me that's 1 year, and then he's a lame duck. And so either that or he gets an extension. So what did the Viking general manager say, as Warner Wolf used to say back in his day? Let's go to the audio tape.
You know, it's our expectation that he'll be our quarterback. I can't say exactly how that would look. Again, we have everything at our disposal. We'll consider all those things just like we will with everybody else on the roster.
All right, so that was like a dismissal, right? The expectation is that Kirk Cousins will be our quarterback next season, but we have everything at our disposal. So there was no comment, right? Or commitment, I should say. There's no commitment by the Vikings. And there was certainly no, hey, this guy's gone. We're done with this guy. So there was a whole lot of nothing. So let us discuss. You heard the soundbite from the Vikings GM. Does it sound to you like the Minnesota Vikings are going to lock in Kirk Cousins based on his contract and based on this? So I am shaking my head. No, I've got junk food, Tupperware, and Willy Wonka. And we will put all of these things together, and we are going to break a vocal cord, which is what we're going to do. Not break a leg because it's radio, but we'll break a vocal cord. So, there is no lean. There is no lean, as we pointed out, but either way here. Parsing the words, we love to parse words. And you look at the Viking situation, there was a lot of educated hot air. Big words were said, gobbledygook, cliches and platitudes. Kirk Cousins neither got a ringing endorsement nor a one-way ticket out of Dodge. So that means that this story is still up for speculation. It remains, and his future remains in the crosshairs. When the Viking GM said the expectation is that Cousins will be back next season, see, that's the part that raised a red flag to me. Because I know, and I've learned this as I've gotten older, expectations evolve. When I was a kid, my expectation was to replace Vin Scully as the voice of the Dodgers. Now I'm doing an overnight radio show. But my expectation was to replace Vin Scully. Expectations change all the time. All right? And Adefo-Mensah, the GM here, serving up what I would call a menu of junk food. Heavily processed, a lot of empty calories, nothing meaty. There was no substance. All right? My sense is that Minnesota is going to have a wandering eye. They're going to be looking around, exploring their options. But they are not in any way committed to Kirk Cousins, nor should they be. Right? Why would you be? Adefo-Mensah, the GM there, is the Wolf of Wall Street guy. He's got the corporate speak down, smooth talking. Says the media guy's name. The media people love that. You can really do whatever you want if you say their names when they ask you a question. It's just a big deal. Now, page 2. So who is being groomed as Kirk Cousins' replacement? See, that part of it is a tangled web on the Viking ship. Because I'm looking around here. I don't see any contingency plan. I'm looking at the depth chart here. I do not see any contingency plan. The current options are non-existent. Casper the Friendly Ghost. You've got Nick Mullins, who seems like he'd be really good if he plays, but then when he plays, the longer he plays, the worse he plays. Career backup. Journeyman quarterback. There's nobody. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody with a capital N that is ready to slide on over and be the heir to Kirk Cousins' throne. So that means, for our purposes, you get to jump on the merry-go-round. Not just any merry-go-round. No. The quarterback merry-go-round. Round and round and round and round and round and round and round. Spin, 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 spin. The quarterback merry-go-round. So the Vikings have options. They can keep the status quo and have Kirk Cousins play as a lame duck quarterback. Oh, no, that's not fair. Oh, there'll be all kinds of pearl clutching from the NFL media. I can't believe the Vikings are making Cousins play the last year of his contract. Or they can pick up a container of Tupperware from the back of the fridge and have some leftover spaghetti inside that Tupperware. And you look at the merry-go-round of quarterbacks. Now, it's conceivable, depending on how the Lions play. They're saying all the right things, but they could still push the door wide open on Jared Goff and say, well, we want him to test the market. Maybe we will bring him back, but they haven't brought him back yet, and so they can sort of get out of the Goff deal. So Jared Goff is a possibility. Tom Brady's 1,000 years old, playing like it now. You've got other leftover spaghetti like Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, could be Dunskies in Tennessee, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. Does that do anything for you? How about Davis Mills? You want Davis Mills? No? You're not excited about that? Nick Foles? No. Matt Ryan, Mitch Trubisky, Zach Wilson, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So based on that and the reality, the Vikings are very unlikely to get any of the top quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, who could change teams. Forget about it. So that would point the direction that the Vikings are going to keep Kirk Cousins, and they're going to give him a Fugazi contract extension, one of those faux extensions like the Raiders gave Derek Carr, where they have a news conference and they talk about how great his family is and how wonderful he is and all that stuff, and then they just move some numbers around and they give him some fake money and they cook the books a little bit to clear out some salary cap space because it's just manipulation. That's all the salary cap is. It's not a hard cap. It's just a budget. It's a loose budget, and you can move some numbers around on the chart and you're good to go. But Cousins at age 35, so that is a red flag also, because history is not kind to quarterbacks that are 35 or over, and Tom Brady is the unicorn. But outside of the unicorn, and even Brady looking like he's washed up and time to go to TireRack.com and get some new tires because he's lacking some tread on those tires. He's not exactly enjoying the high life right now in Tampa. All right, last word. So there's another branch when you talk about the Viking tree, and that involves wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who was amazing. It was insane how good he was in terms of fantasy football numbers and production from beginning to end. He was swimming the backstroke against NFL defenses, but he is contract up. There's conflicting reports. Some say that contract talks have not started and that there's nothing going on. Others are saying that they have had conversations. Now, the Viking GM, Mr. Mensa, Adolfo Mensa, he was asked about that as well. We have some more audio, so we'll go back to the audio well one more time. Here's the Viking GM asked about the status of Justin Jefferson and a contract extension, and take a listen.
I wouldn't use the word challenge. You got a special player, special person. Those aren't problems, or at least those are champagne problems. So we'll start there. Yeah, we've had initial dialogue with him, his agent, all those things. We can factor that into the planning, but again, it really starts from the player, the person, and we'll work out solutions from there on.
Yeah. See, that soundbite was 20 seconds, and he said nothing other than champagne problems. That's the only thing I took out of that. Like you talk to the agent, and say, why don't we talk next Wednesday or two weeks from now? We'll talk. We'll have a cocktail. How about that? Now the question on this one is, how much will Justin Jefferson's next contract be worth? Because we're very concerned about other people's finances, other than our own finances, and he is going to get the gross domestic product, Justin Jefferson, of Micronesia by the time this is done. He's next in line. He's sitting on the NFL oil reserve. Outside of him getting involved in a scandal or an arrest, then he'd have to go to Cleveland to get the money. But outside of that, he's going to get paid. This is a Willy Wonka situation, as in the old golden ticket like we have on the show. Justin Jefferson is going to break the bank here. 128 catch season, 1,800 yards, set several franchise records for the Vikings, and that's a franchise that has had some big-time receivers over the years with Randy Moss and Chris Carter and others. So in terms of real dollars, though, the number, if you're really concerned about how much money is going to be in the 401k plan for Justin Jefferson, the number to beat is actually Cooper Kupp's number. It's not Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs. Cooper Kupp has the most guaranteed money on his contract, $75 million. Tyreek Hill is second at $72 million, and Stephon Diggs, the old Viking in Buffalo, is at $70 million. Now, the counter-argument is the Vikings, the old regime, did not want to pay Stephon Diggs, and that's why he's running or roaming with the Buffalo. So will the new regime and the ownership be willing to put money into just a cog in the machine? For years in the NFL, it's like, we can't pay that much to a receiver. And then obviously in recent years, the money's gone crazy. It's gone bonkers. So we project the MALLER contract wing in the middle of the night here, projecting that when it's all done, the dust settles, the Vikings rolling up a caravan of Brinks trucks to the tune of $80 million guaranteed. Now, there'll be a lot of other money that will sound cooler and better, but to me, $80 million sounds pretty good. I don't know about you. Maybe you're in a different situation than I am.